Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome to the 6th episode of our Lincoln Real Estate Group Coronavirus Denver Market Update. And holy smokes, man, what a week again. You know, it's like it keeps going. The weather's getting warmer. The surge is looming. There's all sorts of new changes going on. Apparently, some real estate agents got a little bit of a parole and were able to start showing some homes. We'll talk about that in limited basis and with some restrictions and all that stuff. So stay tuned. We'll take a look at the numbers. We'll take a look at some tips and insights and kind of touch into what's going on in financing and all of that fun stuff. And we'll take a look at some fun things at the end. So if you're watching live, if you comment on the Lincoln Real Estate Group live page, we'll get those comments directly. If you comment on any of the other feeds, it's going like to Pam's page, Jen's pages, Ann's pages, my pages. We'll be monitoring those, and then we'll try to answer those comments and questions live too. If not, we'll get them to them next week. So with that, here is our esteemed panel, which I cut to initially, and they were probably sitting there just kind of looking at me. But at any rate, we got Jen Erzinger, our trusted enterprise captain and chief temperature taker. We've got our financing guest expert, Pam Wandry, who brings us all of her expertise every week. And then down the bottom, the temperature-controlled brokers, Ann Schabacher and myself. We were temperature-controlled and ready to roll this morning.
You were allowed to talk.
We were allowed to talk. Everything's in and reported. So how's everybody doing?
Good. Doing good.
Yeah. So we had lots of things change this week. And one of the things is that the governor lifted some of the restrictions, although the counties didn't. And we can get back to showing homes, sort of. But I'm going to toss to Jen on this thing, and why don't you let us know what the skinny is on that?
Well, it was such an exciting week last week. We were all excited because we were going to be able to show, with strict protocols. And then the counties started chiming in and started kind of rolling us back. So by the end of the week, we were all like, oh, here we are again. So essentially, we are allowed to show in Denver, Douglas, and Boulder counties. Our group doesn't work a whole lot in Boulder, but we will occasionally venture to there. And then showings are prohibited in Jefferson County, Adams County, and Arapahoe. So that one still hurts. We can, of course, do the virtual tours and put property under contract with contingencies and go look at them after contract. So there's still some creative things we could do, but we're really only open in Denver and Douglas.
Yeah, well, and there's some restrictions on what we got to do when we're showing, too, aren't there?
Yeah, we have to wear gloves, masks, only one showing at a time, but that's been in place for a while. And this is everybody. We have to sign at least our brokerage. I'm having you guys sign screening questionnaires with all your clients. So if we ever get into a contact tracing situation, we can provide that information. And just being very, 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 very careful.
Yeah. So. Well, and I think they mentioned that after showing, the properties have to be cleaned and disinfected. We're still.
Yeah, from a brokerage policy, we've sort of tightened up the listings for now because that's a tricky one for me. How are we going to get in there and disinfect in between showings appropriately? What's considered appropriate? Are the sellers, feeling comfortable doing that? So we're going to kind of hold off a little bit. And plus, at least from pulling our group, we don't really have sellers that want to go on right now anyway, or that need to, thankfully. So I think we're good for a couple more weeks.
Right. Well, and for those who tuned in at the beginning there when we were jabbing about the temperatures, one of the things that the county, I don't know whether it's a county health,
it's a state
health
of the
department.
State.
So we have to monitor our temperatures and our symptoms morning and afternoon. So Ann, how was your temperature this morning?
I'm well within an acceptable range.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you guys.
So lots of things going on, but I tell you that with the news, and we're going to look at this. This is for our audience. The market reacted in a very happy way once it was looked like things were going to start opening up. And I think we can get into those numbers. But before we move on to that, Pam, did you have any things that had happened this last week? We'll get into the financing in a second, but any big changes over there in Lenderland?
I mean, I can't say there's big changes because there's like changes all day long every day.
They're all
So
big.
It's every lender is different. Like where this lender may be tightening some guidelines, this lender's like now opening back up. It's like, it's just a moving target all day long. But it's more of the same that it's been for the last 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
The rates are still, they're holding steady and pretty solid, in good low territory of around like 3.33 with 0.7 basis points. But we can get into that more. But mortgages are doing, they're still moving along. We're still trucking.
Well, and that's huge. And for our audience, we're going to be in our financing section. We got questions for Pam, and we'll have all sorts of new insights on stuff going on there. But at any rate, so hey Jen, so why don't we toss to you and let's talk about what happened the last 5 days. I'm going to put up on the screen our statistics from Thursday.
All right, so we had a little surge. We're up to Denver Metro wide 5673. That happened coincidentally after Polis announced we truly were moving to safer at home status. It was sort of when Polis announced and then before the county started rolling back. So, and then our weekend, we had 742 new listings come on the market.
Wow.
408 of those went under contract, so still very strong. And keep in mind, we weren't lifted yet on that 408.
Yeah.
We closed 462 units, and we only withdrew 99 over this weekend. So
Wow.
that number went down quite a bit.
Yeah, well, and I think that points to still there's a lot of pressure. We got a surge kind of waiting in the wings, and there's been a lot of pressure even during this whole coronavirus thing, the shutdowns. But see, we'll get into. Do you want to talk a little bit about? Let's do this.
Oh.
Let's look at the Excel graph, and then we'll get back and talk about the different county restrictions if we want to, and what we can do on showings. And then we've got some other interesting. I mean, there's a lot of interesting data I think that we can look at. But here's the happy Excel graph. As Jen mentioned, right, there was a surge right after there was an announcement on. That we were going to be opening up, and you can see it here. I mean, look at this climb in the listings. This is a 7-day running total. So we saw the inventory start to boost up, and then for the first time, we saw the inventory start to cross over, and then new listings outnumbering the number of pending listings going on. So the good news for buyers is that, there's going to be some more inventory, but more importantly, this to me was more of a signal that, okay, this market's ready to go. I mean, this market's standing by ready to go. And a couple of other things that I thought was interesting was on the average days on MLS, and I don't have a way to highlight it, but I mean, for those watching, this is the time on the market that the property's on the market, and in January, look at that, 49 days, but during this, in March and April, 30 to 21 days on the market. So not only were things moving, but they were on the market for a less amount of time. So that was a real promising piece of data that points still to we're going to have, I mean, while we do have inventory increasing, it's still going to be, a healthy market as far as, good demand. And although we're still limited supply. And then the other interesting thing we saw was that the average price was, and we don't have complete April figures, but prices are still holding. There's only a small variance between March and April, and we're still way ahead of where we were last year. 486 average price compared to 500 this year. So, good news on those fronts, at least from what I can tell. What do you think, Ann? And what are your thoughts?
We're still strong. You know, I broke these out by county. You know, we talked about the move to suburbia. So, you know, let's look and see if that's really the case. And I don't know how much it would be in Denver versus a place like New York, but I have broken them out by Adams, Arapahoe, Douglas, Denver, and Jefferson. And last week, I tracked these numbers from Monday to Sunday every week and went back to the beginning of March. And last week, when they announced the safer at home order and that showings could resume, almost across the board, every county at least doubled in the amount of actives that went on the market.
Wow.
So people are getting ready to get out there, kind of get back to life, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting. The withdrawals went down. I think people are they're ready.
Yeah. Yeah. But Pam, you're probably sensing the same. You're getting more calls, yep. And it's starting to amp up, and people are like, okay, man, let's go.
I mean, personally, I've had more calls for pre-quals for purchases or people wanting to know if they qualify. And then tracking with MBA, you know, they on their mortgage applications for the week ending April 22nd, purchase applications actually increased by 2%. So I think the demand is there. That's pointing the same direction. People are just ready to go. They're just waiting for the green light.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then into our panel, you guys have heard, I mean, I've had several conversations. I know we talked about this last week where people are like, oh, we're waiting for this big wave of foreclosures. You guys think we're going to see that? And if not, why not?
There's too much equity. People have too much equity in their home versus 2008 when people were buying on 100% financing. There was zero equity.
Yeah.
And when we had a dip in the market, it was catastrophic. We don't have that now. 50% of homeowners, something like 50% of homeowners have more than 50% equity in their home.
Yeah.
They can sell. They won't have to give it back to the bank.
Yeah, agreed. It's just, and there's just too much demand right now. I mean, I really don't see a house sitting on the market for the 4 months or the 3 months, you know, for it to actually go to auction.
Or they could sell it before all that happens.
So we might have a rise in NEDs, notice of election and demands, you know, as our unemployment numbers rise. Absolutely. We are probably going to see a bunch of that, but we're saying on the flip side is those houses actually going into foreclosure status, meaning they're, you know, the bank takes it back and it's sold at auction. I don't see that happening. There's just too much equity, like Ann said, and too much demand on the market. We'll get them sold. We'll get some money in people's pockets. Now, it'll be interesting to see what the rental market does. Mm-hmm. You know, is that going to be tightening up? That's a whole other conversation, but I can definitely see the rent market tightening up.
Yeah.
Well, we also have these forbearances, and you can get 6 to 12 months. If we're going to have any issues, it's going to be 6 to 12 months out.
Right.
Very
that's
true.
When that starts to play out. I mean,
this could be next spring's problem.
Well, right.
Yeah, it could be next spring's problem, but we still have so much equity that even if we took a 10% dip, there's still equity in the home.
With the kind of pressure that we're seeing on the market as it is, you know, just the demand, I don't know how that, I mean, if you're unless you just sat there and waited forever and ever and ever before you thought, oh, you know, I'm not going to get out of this, and it's the day before the sale, I don't know how you could not be able to get out from under your home, given the dynamics that we're seeing happening in the market.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being proactive is the key to this conversation, right? As a borrower in trouble, you need to be proactive, you know, and we can likely get you out. So.
Yeah. So, at any rate, short version on the market, man, it's strong and it's happening. And boy, I tell you what, if it gets fully opened up, gangbusters, you know. I mean, and that's even more reason to get yourself prepared. You know, like we've been talking about, get pre-approved, get your stuff together, do your research. do that kind of stuff. But and then financing has got some things swirling, and I think Pam, this is yeah, you're on, and yeah, what's been
Well,
what tell us about what's happened in financing land.
well, the good thing is that it is moving forward and it is appearing to stabilize. You know, what the Fed did and what the government stepped in and did to help, you know, stabilize the markets has had an impact. We're not to where we were pre, you know, March 1st, 2nd, but we're holding steady, which is great news. Rates are continuing to slowly come back down. There are some loan programs that are still, you know, scarce or hard to find, for like jumbos and non-QMs. They're still, you know, suspended from a lot of lenders. There are a few lenders, you know, that have brought back their high balance, so kind of a jumbo, but it's like a hybrid. So those are starting to come back, so that's good news.
Just for our audience, let's explain what a jumbo mortgage is.
A jumbo mortgage is a loan that's over the maximum loan amount for a county. So for Denver metro area, that's around $510,000.
Mm-hmm.
But for what's called a high balance loan, sometimes you can get it's written like a conventional loan, but can go up to about $575,000. But above that is a true jumbo. So the fact that those high balance loans are starting to come back is great, especially for the Denver metro area because of our where home values are. That's kind of generally where some, you know, some loans are, a lot of loans land. So that's all good. Of course, you know, we're still watching how the whole unemployment thing is going. That's, you know, more and more. I think it was 26.5 million last Thursday. And so that is going to have an impact on people being able to make their payments, mortgage payments. And so that's where, you know, with the CARES Act, they did the forbearance. We've cautioned about this every week that if you don't need it, don't do it. But if you really need to use that, you know, reach out to your lender, find out your options. They're not requiring proof. In 2008, they did require proof that you were in hardship. They're not requiring that right now. So right now, forbearance is up a lot more than they expected claims. They said 3.4 million forbearance claims right now, and loans in forbearance.
That's nationwide, right?
That's nationwide. Yeah. That's about 6.4% of all loans. And, you know, we're not out of this. So we're going to see that number go up. But I just caution that you understand what forbearance is, what that really is going to look like for you. Make sure you understand the terms. It's not forgiveness. You know, you have to pay it eventually. Right. And this is all going to have an impact on the market and loans going forward. So we're just, you know, they're trying to figure out how to make sure that servicing is still going to be liquid. And so the GSEs did finally step in a week or so ago saying they would, you know, only require 4 more months of servicing, you know, payments, and then that they would, you know, take the slack from there, you know, but it may not be enough. And then they, you know, loans that go into forbearance before their first payment, there's, you know, basically penalties to the lender for the GSEs to buy those loans. And so this is going to make it harder for lenders to continue doing business the way they are. They're going to have to continue to make adjustments, continue to put overlays, continue to add triple verifications of employment because they want to make sure that these loans are not going to go immediately into forbearance and before they give them approval to. So some things are tightening, some things are getting better, you know, the stabilization of rates, but it's just a day-to-day thing. And, you know, we're trying to stay on top of it and trying to keep up with our, you know, pre-qualifications and making sure they're still meeting all the new guidelines or overlays, staying in touch with the agents as we pre-qualify and being like, hey, right now we're on the line. So if you go under, you know, contract, before you go under contract, check in and make sure that we're still good kind of a thing. Just being ultra aware that it's a moving target on a lot of things. It's particularly government-backed loans. So FHA, VA, USDA, looking to make sure that those borrowers really are still qualified. So.
Yeah, well, that brings up the now have these overlays and stuff, have they've been in place since the shutdown started? yes, or
Well, some of them, like pretty soon after, the rates did their crazy low, and then, all the states started going on quarantine or stay-at-home orders. Unemployment started. We started seeing the effects of what was going to happen with people that couldn't have income. Lenders then started putting these overlays, and they trickled in. Some lender, one day it would be this lender, the next day it would be another lender. It wasn't one day, and it's not coming from the GSEs themselves. It's the lenders underwriting.
For our audience, the GSE is
like the HUD and FHA, FHFA.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, what I found, the reason I brought that up is that so we've got some, I don't want to call it uncertainty, but things changing in financing, but at the same time, we're looking at that surge, that pressure that the market's still going, and it's like, well, I know some are going to get affected, but apparently there's still, if you're thinking about selling, there's still buyers out there. It's not like there's a Sahara Desert, with no sand and buyers.
And Tony, this might actually be a good time to talk about the difference between getting a loan from a bank and getting a loan from a mortgage broker.
Sure.
Because when you walk into, say, Wells Fargo and you say, I'd like to get a home loan, you have to fit in their little box. And if you don't fit in that box, they're going to turn you down. And you think, I can't get a loan. That's not actually the case, because banks have tightened their overlays, in some cases even more. Whereas somebody like Pam, who is a broker, can go to 10, 12, 15 different lenders, and she has a lot more flexibility. Even though those overlays are still in place, it does not mean you won't get a loan.
Yeah. Whereas, for example, one lender might have, require reserves on a VA loan, whereas a different lender doesn't. So, I have lots of options of, to be able to choose or funnel my loans to make sure that we can get somebody qualified.
And at the same time trying to avoid gray hair.
That's not, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Now, let's not get crazy.
No, but the overall outlook, it seems like, okay, financing's still moving forward. It's not like there's a big kibosh there. Mm-hmm.
We're still in that. We're still in that. Rates are good. Housing prices are good. There's not as many buyers. Now is still the time.
Yeah.
We're still in that phase.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there's a lot of optimism, it looked like, from the numbers. I mean, just looking at what the market did right after. I mean, Jen, you saw it this weekend.
Yeah, it was crazy. We really hit that little. What did we have? 178 just like automatically come on that were just sitting there.
Bam! Like that was within like 6 hours. Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
And it was funny because I had predicted anyway the other way when it was closed down, and it was surprised to see it doing the opposite. And then and this one at least, it was like, I as soon as that switch got, let's see what it does. And I know I texted Jen that afternoon. I was like, there was like 183 that just came on, man. I mean, it's like people are just waiting for the start, the start line, the start gun to go off, boom, okay, let's go.
Next week's numbers are going to be a little telling, as we have. It's like, well, how much more is going to go under contract in Douglas and Denver versus the surrounding communities?
Yeah.
And we are tracking that. We will have a way to watch that. But, there's going to be some nuances. Is Douglas County the big new thing? Yeah. It's like we can buy in Douglas.
Right.
It might be a bit.
Yeah.
Douglas County is going to be seeing the boom,
Yeah. Yeah, they're getting the urban flight.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I won't say it hasn't been frustrating. I've read more public orders and just weeded through so much more garbage on a state level than I ever care to. So,
well,
it's been a weird week.
And then it's like, okay, what do they mean by this?
Right.
What do they mean?
How broadly can we interpret this sentence?
Right. And the one I liked was, well, cleaning and disinfecting is a thing. And I'm like, well, what? And I read the county guidance on it, and it was like, well, you're supposed to do this after each showing? I mean, wow, so just another comment. I mean, cleaning and disinfecting your home, right? I don't know if you've seen, and this is to our audience, I don't know if you've seen all the ads and the Facebook posts and the TV ads, but they got their little fumigator machine and the whole thing. I should have bought one, but it's a thing. So it's like, okay, get your house professionally cleaned, staged, disinfected, and we'll have to, I don't know whether we have to have them on call for, after every showing or what, or maybe they have to have a cottage house, that's like, here's the home and back there's where the disinfectant guy lives, so.
The guidance on that is sketchy at best.
Yeah.
How are we going to comply with that? Which is why we're kind of backing off a little bit, because I would like to see, I don't want to be the test case for that.
No.
You didn't properly disinfect. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So we'll kind of let that play out for a little bit.
We will probably get some more guidance on that because it just came out, and so it's kind of like, okay, send it out there, and then all the questions come in, and they're like, oh, yeah, what do we mean,
What did we mean?
Yeah, what do we mean?
I feel like we need like a sign up, what you see in public gas stations in the bathrooms, like last cleaned by, and you see the initials and the time. It's like, is that what we're dealing with?
Yeah.
Like, possibly. What does this mean? So.
Yeah, you get the little gold stars,
Yeah, gold star.
It's a gold star home. No, that's all. That's all good. Now, have you guys seen any comments on your pages?
No, we have some people watching.
We got some people watching, but I don't see a comment yet. But I think I think everybody here kind of shares the same thing, that once I said, okay, this is coming back to life, I don't know about y'all, but I was like, okay, the weather's getting nice, it's like 77 degrees outside, I'm getting shorts and sandals, and you know what, we might be able to get back to work, okay, maybe not all the way, but a little bit. I'm like, oh yeah, that was like, let's go, man. So
and then it started wheeling back. Just kidding.
Yeah, well, false start, hit a wall.
Oh, guys.
Go take my temperature.
And we did say cautiously optimistic last week. It's just like we wanted to believe, but
the thing is, it's just, unlike other things that have happened in our entire lives for everybody. There's always we know kind of where we're at today.
Yeah,
we know where we're at today.
This morning.
For me, if I start heading into what's it going to be like next week or something, that's too messy, man. That's too far. We'll do what we can do today.
Well, when we were reading through the orders last week, we're like, oh no, this one's 5 days old. Do we trust it? That's the times we're living in. A 5-day-old document could potentially be unrevable, and that's what we're struggling with right now.
Yeah. Trying
to keep up to date.
And all of our peeps are too. I mean, what's happening with their job? How are they going to work? Teachers, right? They're getting ready to go. They're going down for the summer unless you're in year round. But they're like, okay, well, what's the fall going to look like? Is the whole thing going to online? And parents have got to be like, oh my God, if I got, what are we going to do?
No summer camps. No, I mean, how? I don't know. No. Shout out to the parents of school age kids right now.
So things are doing it. Things are changing. I'm sure. Everything's related to everything else as information comes in and people can make some decisions and stuff. We'll start getting it. But as far as as far as housing goes and financing, it seems like we're probably well suited. A well-suited industry, or in a good position, because people still need a place to live. They still, have got to make some changes. There's going to be things, and there's still people that will have their jobs despite the huge unemployment figures, and things will come back online eventually. So there's that. But yeah, when we get to, we're kind of running up on time here. I'm just oh, wait a minute. We got some people. Say hi to Ann. thanks for tuning in, Ann, and
Jim's on too,
Mary's in
Mr.
there.
Edgell.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, we've got some, at least we're not just talking to ourselves, So, hi, guys.
Not right now, anyway.
No, but the thing is, we're going to keep tabs on and keep doing this every week as it warrants, because there is a lot of good information for people that are buying or selling, right? What's the market doing? What kind of things are affecting you if you're going to be selling or thinking about buying and stuff. So we try to present a good overview for everybody every week, because like we just mentioned, okay, last week's show, it may not be valid. It may not be valid. Yeah. So you want to tune in every week.
It's only partially valid.
Yeah. But there were some things that came up and one of them was this meme, that I don't know if anybody wants to adopt it, but if the listing description's all in caps, I must see this right away. I thought in caps was shouting, but I guess I don't know what that's about.
It is. Yeah. It's technically. Yeah.
And then we ran across this one here. Homeschooling's going well. 2 students suspended for fighting and a teacher fired for drinking on the job. And then and this one I like too. It's like, well, not bragging, but I haven't been late to a listing appointment for actually it's 7 weeks now. So and the rush hour just doesn't seem to be a thing. I mean, so
traffic's great. Traffic is great. That's one upside.
Yeah.
Sadly.
If you were allowed, I would imagine you could get to downtown in about 15 minutes from out here near Highlands Ranch. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, well, kind of looking for some more comments here, and either it's not working or don't see it, but at any rate, we're kind of coming up on time. You guys got some close them up thoughts you want to leave everybody with? We'll start with Jen, or we'll start with Ann.
Go buy.
Yeah, go buy.
Go buy.
Go buy. Rates are good. I can't stress this enough. Now's the time. Your competition's out of the market right now.
Great time. I second that. And I think the only thing I have to add on to that is if you are kind of hitting a wall, if you have experienced some job loss or, do please reach out because you do have options. Do it earlier than later, even if you're not going to do anything about it right now. Let's at least get some things in place and an action plan. So
an action plan, have a strategy, so that you don't find yourself, and this is to our audience, in that position. And even if you're thinking about buying, that it's real important to reach out early, because then it's time everything can be methodical. It becomes okay, we kind of plan our work and work our plan, whereas and this holds true with anything else. When you're in frantic put out the fire mode, I mean, you start making mistakes, right? And mistakes in real estate can be very costly,
Yeah, they can.
They be very
don't
costly,
panic.
When you're out trying to put out a fire. But, well, good.
And basically, we're here for whatever help you need. I mean, Pam, I'm not sure how long you've been in this, but between Jen, Tony, and I, we've figured out we have 57 years of experience right here. A little scary number. But.
And is it, I don't really dye my hair, but I do have the gray patches back there to show for it,
Yeah, yes, we do. We do.
Badges of honor.
And it's showing through more.
Yeah, it's getting worse.
It's provable at this point that we have the gray hairs to show it.
Yeah.
But it goes to say we've been through the trenches. We know how to help. We know what to do. We can help. Please reach out if you need something.
There is no dumb question. I think Jen said that last week.
Yes.
The only dumb question is the question that's not asked. So if you have a question,
yeah.
call one of us. if we don't have the answer, we will find the answer.
We'll find it
for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's and to there's a kudos to Pam, because I've called her about things and she'll check into stuff and what's happening with this, and she's like on top of it, and I get the answers that I need, because I got to kind of relay stuff, and when I'm dealing with somebody else and trying to figure out their strategy, I need information from Pam or you guys and your lenders and stuff. But it's very it's all part of the process, work smart or work not so smart. I like the work smart and get better results thing. It's like, okay, let's, because there's always going to be some surprise. It's like, oh, what's this? But the less of those that you have, the better off you are. It's like,
we'll try to mitigate those ahead of time as much as we can.
Minimize a little jack in a box popping out. Oh, that.
Yeah, we always talk about the ghosts. We always wait for the ghost to pop out. We just don't know where it is.
Yeah. Well, we got somebody else joining here. Looks like, hey, Pat Cobb joined. Thanks, Pat. Good to see you. At any rate, but we're just about ready to wrap up. So, with that note,
Appreciate
Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.
thank you, everyone.
Bye, thank
Again,
you.
reach out.
See you next week.
See you next week. Thanks for watching. All right. Have a great day.